Hello, everybody, and welcome to Music Industry Insights Worldwide, Volume 3. And today I have the amazing Bee with me. Hi, Bee, how are you?
Hello. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, really well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show. Really appreciate your time. So tell us a little
Thank
bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you do in the music industry.
Yeah, okay. So obviously my name is Adamic. I run a music PR agency called Liberty Music PR. I've been doing that for about 7 years. My story's a bit different in that I came into the music industry a bit later in my life. So when I finished school and then went to uni, I kind of just thought, right, I'm going to get into marketing and didn't really know what industry I wanted to be in, and then but I knew maybe comms and that sort of thing would suit my skill set. So I literally just went from like job to job when I finished uni. None of it was anything I was really passionate about, if I'm honest. And then I remember going to a festival. I was probably like late 20s. I went to a festival in Brighton because I lived in Brighton
Yeah.
called The Great Escape.
Oh,
And then I remember thinking, oh my goodness, what an exciting place, what an exciting industry, like the music industry. Wow.
yeah.
And then I was thinking, oh, that's where I want to be. That's exactly what I want to do. And then telling like my boyfriend at the time, oh, I'm gonna get into the music industry. And he was like, no, you're not, you're nearly 30, like,
Yeah.
I was like, he's like, you need
Yeah.
30, you haven't got experience, you need to get into the industry younger. And I was like, nah, I'm going to prove to you that I can do this. So, yeah. So, what I did like through my early 30s was basically try and do as much as I can in the music industry to sort of like showcase myself. So, I just thought, how can I get in? Like, I sent loads of emails to music companies and agencies, but no one really replied.
Yeah.
So I just started to make my own opportunities, basically. Yeah, so I like
Yeah.
launched a radio show,
Wow.
blog. I just did loads of stuff. And then it all basically came about probably when I was like 35. So it literally, so when people are really worried and think that it's too late for career changes, I always say, no way. Honestly, I came from like a corporate background
Yeah.
in another industry and actually managed to actually get a sustainable income and career, but not until I was in my mid 30s. And so yeah, so then so how did it all happen? So I was managing so I had a night in Brighton,
Yeah.
a live music night at Green Door Store every Sunday. It's like new music, new artists, and a band came in and played for me, and they were brilliant. And they were like, "Oh, we need a manager. Would you be our manager?" And I was. And then we were kind of planning their next release and kind of looking at agencies and things like that for like PR. And we basically signed up with an agency in London. Unfortunately, the agency didn't do a good job, and then I had to kind of save the day a bit. So I basically like took the press release, rewrote it, repitched it out myself, and then realized actually I was really good at it.
Yeah.
Um, and that's literally where the Liberty started. Like it was totally organic. It was like, and then people within my circles saw that I was quite good at doing the PR for the band I was managing. And then Normanton Street, who are Brighton-based band, were like, "Can you do our next release? You're really good." And
Oh,
that was it. It literally grew. It was like one band, then another artist, and another band, and it was just really slow and organic, basically.
I love that
Um,
inspirational story. And your story totally felt my own when sometimes you feel like because you're going to in an industry and I think you've got to
mm,
build a reputation and people have got to get to know you as a person. And sometimes
mm,
opportunities are quite hard to find if you don't know the
mm.
right places. And I really
Yeah,
find that inspiring that you made your own opportunities, you created your own and you did it
yeah,
for passion, which is really, really inspirational. And it's the same as
yeah.
the story.
Yeah, so like, because on LinkedIn, I always get loads of DMs from younger people entering the music industry or thinking of, and they're always like, I don't know where to start, what to do, what advice can you give me? And I always say to them, if you can maybe create your own opportunity, it will just be a slow footing in, like maybe launch a music podcast, or maybe launch like a blog or something that shows that you've got an interest and you're active and you're doing something. because it is hard to get a foot in the door in the music industry, and it is quite a closed kind of industry, I think, if you're not in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do definitely understand the challenges.
And
Yeah.
did you have like a musical education when you moved into the industry? Have you ever had a musical education or anything?
No, I haven't, and I would love to. I feel like I've just taught myself as I've gone along, and I totally see huge benefits in music education, and I feel like that's maybe where I lack. But I come from, so my background is in marketing and business and communication, so and that's obviously a huge part of what is taught in music education. So yeah, so I think I can apply myself in that way. But in terms of actual, no, I don't have that experience.
Well done to you for getting this far and for doing all the amazing
Thank,
things you do. Wow, that's
thank
super,
you,
super
thank you.
inspiring. And what kind of challenges and barriers have you had to overcome in your career path, obviously being a parent and all the other things you do?
Yeah, there's been quite a few, I'd say, because I always felt like an imposter in the industry. So, for example, because obviously, like my dream was to go and work for a music PR agency. That's what I wanted to do, and I work for a music agency. So the fact that I created one myself organically was like, okay, but I need to learn off somebody who's teaching me. I think I could have actually done with a mentor right at the start. So I always had that kind of, the challenge for me was I was my own, getting in my own way at times,
Right.
because I never thought I was like 100% the real deal when it came to music PR. But then the more and more I spoke to other people, they're like, you're doing just the same as a
But
normal, fully fledged
yeah,
paid agency in London that's been around for years. There's nothing. And actually I was sort of tackling things with a fresh pair of eyes, and sort of looking at like, how do we promote this artist in this blog, or in general in the music industry. So yeah, I always had that imposter syndrome, and I still get it sometimes now, like that. I'm like, should I be here? And I suppose
right. Of course.
another thing for me was, yeah, when I fell pregnant. So basically my story is that I launched the business in 2016. That's when, like, obviously I started doing PR for the band I managed, then I started doing another campaign, and I started doing another one, and then decided actually I was going to give this a go. So I was like, right, maybe I should quit my job, my corporate job, my 9 to 6, and just start Liberty. Let's just see what happens. And then, so I did that. I get handed in my notice, saved up like 3 months worth of rent, just in case it didn't go right. And then I found out I was pregnant, literally like a month later.
Oh, bless
So I would literally just left like a really nice maternity packaged corporate role,
you.
about to go off on my own, and then I was pregnant.
Oh,
So I was like, oh
well,
my God, what am I going to do? So
uh,
2016 was quite mad.
yeah,
But the other challenge I had, so during that time that I was pregnant, I actually hid the fact I was pregnant from everybody, from female artists, male artists, like everyone that I worked with, and everyone in between. Like I just felt like I couldn't be honest with people that I was pregnant, because for fear of them thinking that I wasn't going to do a good enough job, or I was going to go sort of, I was going to disappear once I'd had the baby. And I needed them to trust that I could do their job, because I was servicing all the campaigns myself.
yeah,
So that was a challenge, and actually, I felt like I got quite a bit more. It felt like I got a bit more of criticism, or maybe a bit of a bad attitude towards some of the female clients I had, which was
right.
really interesting. Whereas, yeah, so that was a big thing, and I feel like we've moved so much forward in the industry now, in the music industry, in terms of supporting mums in music. Like I even run my own community called MAMI. But back then it definitely felt like a really lonely place to be as a new mother in music.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So that's really good. So you've got your own little support group for other parents in the music industry.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. It like I started that. So when I'd had my daughter, and I was going to loads of like women in music groups, when I was at these groups, I was like, oh, is there any mothers in music groups? And lots of people were like, don't know, I'm not sure. And there is one that's run by She Said So, which is amazing. But I wanted something a bit more localized to Brighton. So me and another musician mama, we both decided to create our own community, and we host like regular events. Well, I say regular, probably once a year now, in places like Soho House. They're not kind enough to give us a space for free, which is amazing. But they've been amazing. Like, we've put on panels where really inspiring women in music who happen to be mums talk about their journey. We've had people turn up to the event who've just fallen pregnant and are really unsure about whether they want to carry on or not, and then been inspired by the panelists and gone like, yeah, I can do this. So for me, I felt that was quite a challenge. So I think imposter syndrome and just being a mother and being viewed in a more negative way because of that.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. I think that's really important. I think you're not the only one that feels that way,
Yeah.
share that and to obviously support other women and parents, I think is fantastic. If anyone wants to find out more about your organization, is there anywhere they can find you?
Yeah, so we have an Instagram page. So we're known as MAMI, MAMI. We have a Instagram page. We did have a website, but I think maybe we forgot to renew the Squarespace. So we will be getting that back up and running though. And where else? Facebook page as well. So we've got a private Facebook page which you can join as well if it feels that it's appropriate. But it's we're here to tackle challenges, changes. We want to be a support network. We want to be an informative educational network. But we also want to help other organizations and people in music maybe who don't know how to deal with somebody who's just turned around and said, I'm pregnant. Or maybe you're a tour manager and your artist is said they're pregnant. Maybe you don't have the tools to kind of understand how to navigate that, and we want to be able to help those people realize that actually there are things they maybe need to consider now that they're on tour with a pregnant woman, and what they are basically. So we want to make some real positive changes, and we might be actually partnering with quite a big US based agency community who are doing similar things in the US. So we're going to try and collaborate on a few events this year. Yeah, so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, fantastic. I was going to also ask you, so looking at the kind of percentage of parents in the industry, I think we've got around 27% of the music industry workforce is our parents, compared to compared to like 44% of the general population. So when you actually look at it, why do you think some of these reasons or some of these problems occur with being a parent in the music? What do you think some of these issues could be?
Yeah, so when we sort of ask a lot of the young women that come to our events, like what they feel the challenges could be for them, or even just talking to young women in music, a lot of them will always say that, oh, yeah, but you can't have a career in music and be a mother at the same time. Like, you have to choose one or the other. So I feel that there is that real stigma around just maybe there not being enough support. Maybe the maternity packages aren't as favorable as other industries, and especially maybe as an artist, feeling like you just can't do both. But also on the industry side as well, like I've got friends that are at some of the biggest kind of agencies and music companies in the UK, and they're all saying the same thing, that you can't possibly juggle the two, the career and motherhood. So I feel like maybe that could be the reason why there's just that weird attitude towards it that's maybe starts from the top. So really want to kind of try and change that, and that's what we're trying to do, even if we play a small part in making that, putting that positive message out there, that actually you can do it. You can, there's a great network out there. Some people find that they have achieved more since becoming a mother. I feel like for me, maybe the fact that I had those pressures of being, not being able to waste any time, like, to every hour that I had free had to be productive. I think that probably gave me that extra push. And I know from a musician's perspective, some of the women in the community are saying that they felt more creative since they became mothers.
Oh,
They
that's
wrote some of their best songs. So that makes me really happy to hear that.
same here. Well done, B. That's lovely. And it's so great to hear the work you're doing. I had no idea about that. So thanks for sharing.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
I know. You've reminded me I need to do more in it. So, because it's so needed. So yeah.
definitely is. And thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing your story, because I think, that inspires other people. It also lets
Yeah,
other people know that they're not on their own, and there are
yeah,
organizations out there that are there to support you. So please do check
yeah.
MAMI if you want to, and Liberty PR.
Oh,
So what's
yeah.
on ED&I at the moment in the music and entertainment industry? Give us your
Say
kind of
that again. So, sorry, say that again. Sorry.
problem. What's your kind of thoughts on the ED&I in the music industry, music and entertainment at the moment? So if you're looking at
Yeah.
equality and diversity, how well do you think we're doing?
I feel like we are slowly getting there, slowly, but I feel like there still needs to be so much more work to be done, and that is why the fantastic work that you do and other people and organisations is so vital. I feel like it's getting better. I feel like it's getting better, that we are seeing more diversity across different companies within music, but I feel like there's still such a long way to go. And yeah, even like with my organization, like I always try and sort of figure out who's coming through the door, who are we recruiting, how can we do things better, why are we not recruiting or having a sort of real balanced representation, how can we change that? And that's something that's so that I'm really passionate about, but I feel like there is so much more that we could all do.
Yeah. And what kind of things would you like to see improve in, say, the next 2 years? What are the main things that really
Yeah, I think I'd like to see, like, I just like, decision makers of music. I'd like to see that there is a real diverse representation at board level. I still feel like at that very top level, it's still predominantly men, and white men as well. And I feel that's really disappointing. And, even as a woman CEO, like, when I go out, if I, I went out for dinner with somebody last week, and I wanted to pay, and they just assumed that the man was paying, and kind of put the bill towards the man, and that I just like things like that. I think it's still so intrinsically built in all of us that actually the men are still the leaders, and that's the way it should be. And I feel that I mean, there's some organizations that are doing great jobs, but I feel that there's just so much that we need to do. And yeah, and yeah, I'm always keen to hear more. And I'm always keen to sort of be educated as well and kind of learn more as well, because I just feel like there is so much that, we could be doing basically.
there is
Yeah.
learn out there as well, you're right. And to have people
Mm,
like yourselves that are pushing these organizations to be diverse and inclusive, I think
yeah.
is the way forward. And for
Yeah.
being so inclusive and kind, and obviously supporting me in my work as well. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, that's really good.
And the next thing would be, has the music industry ever affected your mental health or made you feel like you feel like you have to step back from it, or you feel like there's anything that you could kind of
Yeah.
improve on?
Definitely, but I feel maybe that's more I it's self-inflicted.
Yes.
So I feel that I am a bit of a workaholic. So there like I love what I do. I honestly like I love it, and I feel like I could work it doing what I'm doing sort of 9 till 12 a.m. at night sort of thing. But
I get
I
that.
get that I get that I'm a mother and I'm a partner and I'm a friend and I'm a daughter and I'm all these things to different
You've got a
people.
lie.
Excuse me.
You've actually
Yeah, I've
got
got a life,
a lie.
and I feel that maybe I put those pressures on myself. So I think where um my mental health might be compromised, I think is maybe because I've just sort of just been really focused on getting something done and realized that I actually haven't had any fresh air that day, or maybe I've gone to bed really late, like quite wired from being on the laptop till late at night with the blue light, and then have a really restless sleep and then wake up feeling groggy the next morning and then get back to it again. And I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm frazzled.
It was
But that again it's all that for me is self-inflicted. But I do recognize for artists the huge pressures that are in place for them, just in terms of thriving to be the best, and thinking that they need to be like up there and successful. And I think there's so much that it's expensive being an artist, there's so much competition, and I really feel for that. And one initiative actually we're bringing back at Liberty is we're doing this thing called Wellness Wednesdays, and we're actually opening it out to the whole industry. So we're going to do once a month, we're going to have somebody come in, like an expert in meditation or nutrition or yoga, and just show everybody via a Google Hangout like how to do a 10-minute meditation, like a group one.
Oh,
So yeah, so I'm gonna go live with that this week, so people can sign up for it. I'm really excited about that, actually. But yeah, I recognise it, certainly within my team. Sometimes I can see when someone's looks a bit stressed, or maybe a client isn't quite as happy, but we're trying everything we can. It's hard. It's a really hard industry, because you want to please everyone, and you never want anyone, certainly as an agency owner of a PR company, I don't want anyone to ever walk away feeling disappointed. But I realize there's a lot of stress that goes into being an artist.
yes, I definitely agree.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what kind of tips could you give, or just give one tip if you could, to the audience?
Yeah. So for me, and I always come back to this myself, because I understand that rituals are really important. I'm all about my well-being, and putting in the good, because I know that if I do that, then everything that comes out will pay off later on. But I always think, take time away from your work, your laptop, your phone. Like, sometimes it can just be too much. You've got like messages coming in, social media alerts. And I just think, like, take some time out for you, to, even if it's 10 minutes, put the device down, walk across the garden, sit on a bit of grass, or wherever, on a park bench or something. Get out there, get some fresh air. I always think, write down your thoughts. For me, journaling's been pretty epic and quite life-changing. I just get a scrapbook, a blank book, and get a pen and write. Sometimes, like, I'll write until there's nothing more to write on a page. And none of it will make sense. I won't even be able to read half of it, but it's like therapy for me.
Yeah,
I always do like a reminder of why I'm lucky in life, and I find gratitude lists and things like that really help. For me, exercise, I carve out, like, I go to a gym that's 24 hours open, so sometimes I'll even go to the gym at 10 p.m. at night,
so
or 6 in the morning, just because I need to get that kind of release, and I can do it through that. I find, connecting with like-minded individuals in music, because it can feel quite lonely as well. Certainly for me, as a female CEO, I feel like I can't really talk to many people in my team about, say, something that's upsetting me or stressing me out, because I don't want to worry them. If we're having a slow month, I can't go, oh, we're having a slow month, to a colleague, because I don't want them to stress out.
yeah.
So I find that actually having people who are similar level in another area of music always helps me, so I can just bounce things off, ideas, and just get some advice. But yeah, well, I think mental health is, yeah, you've got to give yourself a break, and you have to step away from your work, get some perspective, and even a walk helps. And it's scientifically proven that actually walking for 10 minutes a day can actually just clear your thoughts in your head, and
It
allow
really,
you to come up with some great ideas, if
yeah.
that's what you want.
What great advice.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm an advocate of that. And also, I do, I mean, you probably see my Instagram, but I'm like, I love things like cold showers. I do quite a bit. Yeah, and it's crazy, but for me, it works. Like, so if I wake up in the morning, I feel a bit tired or groggy. Try also, one tip I found that really works for me is, and we all do it, like I do it as well, is try not to touch your phone when you wake up. Like, and we all run the risk. We put the phone beside our bedside table, don't we? That's where it is. That's our alarm. But if you can just avoid it for the first hour, it does something to you neurologically, actually sets you up for a more focused day. And I'm still trying to do that. It's like work
like
in
that
progress.
myself. I'm going to implement a phone when I wake up in the morning and just get on with everything else. What great advice! This has been fantastic. Thank you for sharing all this.
Oh, thank you. I could go on and on, but yeah, they're the few things that I find that really work for me, and hopefully they'll help some of your listeners as well.
Brilliant. The last question of the day is,
Ooh.
so what are your major successes and wins in the music industry? And do you have any up and coming projects that you'd like to share or release it?
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely to, yeah. So I think for me, obviously I shared with you that so obviously I didn't come from a musical background, like, and for me as well, like, just so I grew up on a council estate in just outside of Bedford, and you know, things like the music industry were like a dream. It was like another world when I was a kid. I used to watch like the Brit Awards and read smash hits and be like, wow, how exciting is that? Like, I never thought that was possible. I never actually planted that seed of ambition in me. I just thought I had to get a normal job and that was that. So to be able to, for me, a really big thing was, and I think you were too this year, was being a Brit Award judge for the categories. And that was like huge for me because somebody who'd always like looked up to this industry, this award ceremony, and as a kid being in this house, and like not having much money and things like that, and just like being able to know that actually you can really achieve anything you want if you put your mind to it. And the same for like launching the business as well. Like, honestly, if there's anybody out there, because I always just assume that people in this industry were quite come from quite privileged backgrounds and quite affluent, and they are actually. There is a big chunk of that. Unfortunately, it always happens in music and arts and things like that. But just to prove that actually anything is possible, you just have to keep putting yourself out there and ask. You have to ask sometimes. If you want something, you have to ask as well. So don't be afraid to ask. But yeah, doing that. And also the biggest thing for me is just giving people their first chance as well in at Liberty. So a lot of our team members actually, it is their first ever music job. And for me, I just like to, I see something in somebody and I just want to like nurture that. And I see some great people in our company kind of grow and develop, and they came in and they were like, they didn't know anything or anyone, and then they sort of a year later they're just this experienced, like confident young person. I'm like, wow, and I was a part of that. And then they go off to work at like Spotify or something. I'm like, oh my goodness. So that is like one of my greatest sort of legacies, is seeing these amazing young people coming through, you maybe using us as a stepping stone, and that's okay. I don't mind that. And that makes me happy. And then my biggest success was probably my TED talk. Last year? Yeah, last year. Because when I was young, I was so shy. I was so terrified to speak publicly, even like in a group scenario at school in the classroom, like, when you had to go around and everyone had to read a page from the English literature book. I couldn't do that. I was literally like the worst. And I hate public speaking. I still hate public speaking now, but I look back at that video and go, wow, I did 14 minutes of just talking at a crowd, a packed Cambridge theatre, and I still can't believe I did that. Like, I still am like, oh my God, it terrifies me just thinking I delivered that. So that would be probably one of my biggest achievements, and to just prove that you can do anything. You can do anything, and you just have to put yourself in the right. So for example, with that scenario, the TED talk, it just so happened that I knew the guy that was running the talks, and we'd stayed in contact for quite a few years because I'd helped him do some other bits and pieces. And then one day he just emailed me going, I think you'd be a great TED talk. And I was like, what, me? So I think you've got a great story, and that was amazing. So I think those are my biggest achievements so far. And then for me, sort of next steps, what I'm excited about, we're looking to create like a community at Liberty. So we recognize that the music industry is quite a lonely place. So we want to bring as many. I don't feel like there's enough of like, like people joining a community and kind of going, I'm a songwriter, oh, I'm a guitarist, or oh, should we try and do something together? So sort of bringing like people into like the community, and supporting them, and having like sessions that they can kind of get involved with. Like, we're going to do like themed sessions every month, like what is sync, and how do you kind of get opportunities there, how do you songwrite and that sort of thing. So we're going to be building a Liberty community. So I'm really excited about that. Doing more on MAMI. I think you've inspired me to probably start doing a bit more there. And yeah, just carry on being a good person and giving back to the industry wherever I can. So we'll carry on with our Wellness Wednesdays once a month, and yeah, just hoping that, you know, we can just put some good back into this industry.
Beautiful. I wish everyone was like you in this industry, then we wouldn't have
Oh.
any social media handles or anything you'd like to share with the viewers. Is there anywhere they can?
Yeah, yeah, of course. So if you want to check out what I'm up to, I am BEE underscore Adamic, ADAMIC, and that's on Instagram. Very happy for people to follow me on Instagram. LinkedIn as well. I love LinkedIn. I always encourage people to use that as a good platform. LinkedIn was actually something that made me initially at the start of my career. So I didn't know anyone, and like I literally just used to like tap up people on LinkedIn and say, "Hi, I really want to learn from you," and that was like a great tool for me. So whenever I get DM from someone similar, I'm like, "Okay, what can I do to help?" You know, so LinkedIn as well, and then obviously Liberty Music PR. All the handles are just at Liberty Music PR across like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok as well. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. Hopefully I'm hoping that, you know, one, two, three, four people will be inspired by the story, and know that they can do it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. I'll leave a description with all the details and Liberty
Yeah,
description.
brilliant, thank you.
You check out the amazing work that Bee's doing and Liberty PR. Thank you so much for your time. It's been super.
Cheers, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Press stop now.
Cool. Oh, that was good.
Stop.